Veterans Battalion.
What's up, everybody? Oh my God, we have an freaking amazing Veterans Battalion, somebody very special, and we are coming live from the one and only Cowboy Nation, Dallas, Texas. In the war room, we got Colt, Adam.
What's up, guys?
And Roland. And Colt, you got to do your, come on, man. We cannot even get this started without your.
One battalion, one company, one team, one fight.
Yeah. And just so you guys,
voice. I love that voice, man. All the voices here. I'm ready to fight.
And just so you guys know, it took Colt a couple sessions to get that right. But, I'm very excited. It's Veterans Day. Well, yesterday we had the Marine Corps birthday on Saturday. And what better way to get this episode going with one individual that, wow, it's an honor for us to be here. We have shared some great memories with him together, served. His family migrated to America when he was 10 years old, fleeing the revolution, was granted U.S. citizenship. After high school, decided to give back to this country and serve our nation with the U.S. Army, specifically with the 101st Airborne, earning many awards, accolades for his leadership, courage, and commitment to this country. After working with many top-tier financial companies, he decided to launch PHP Agency, an insurance, sales, marketing, distribution company. He's accomplished this before the age of 30, which is amazing. His company, PHP, is now ranked as one of the leading and fastest-growing companies within the financial marketplace. But this man does not stop there. He decides to disrupt the way entrepreneurship has been viewed and launches a video a couple years back that created an amazing, insanely buzz. You guys might have seen him, gets out the door, Ferrari standing up front there, and he's just like, man, I'm enjoying life. This inspirational content has launched something that a lot of us have watched, Valuetainment YouTube channel, which is amazing. Aside of providing great context, he has also interviewed amazing guests such as Magic Johnson, Mark Cuban, Steve Wozniak, Robert Greene, just to name a few. He is an author, a family man, mentor, leader, veteran, and true definition of rags to riches. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Patrick Bet-David.
My man, it's good to be here with you guys. Now that's an intro.
That's a great intro. Definitely.
I want to get started because when I hear your story of coming from Iran and leaving everything that happened, I myself was living in Central America, in El Salvador to be specific. And when I was 6 years old, and I remember this clearly, that my mom put us on a bus and the bus in front of us blows up, right? And this is the time that the whole, El Salvador is going through this whole change, revolution and everything. And I remember mom crying and she said, tomorrow we're going to change. Tomorrow we're making a move for a better life. And that's when we started our walk all the way to the United States. So I want you to tell us how that was, how that experience was, and how coming here has changed you so much and achieved so much.
How old were you when that happened to you, Bob?
I was 6 years old.
So you remember it, 6 years old. You remember 6 years old.
I remember my grandma making tortillas for the guerrilla guys, because if not, they would rape her.
Wow. Damn. You hear those stories and, you think it's a movie, but... So for me, we lived in Iran 10 years. Obviously, it's a lot of war. A lot of people dying. We're getting bombed all the time. One time we got bombed 167 times in a single day. We were constantly escaping. And my dad was optimistic that it was going to stop, but it didn't stop. And then finally, 6 weeks after Khomeini died, we escaped. We went to Germany and lived at a refugee camp in Germany with a lot of people who were escaping dictatorship, communism, socialism, some kind of a regime that they were not too happy with. And so we stayed at that refugee camp, and everybody kind of learning about everyone's stories and their experiences. And then we come to the States, to America. And then when we came here, the first innocent side of coming to America was, when you see the movie Creed, the whole Rocky movie that's coming out. I watched Rocky for God knows how many times when I was in Iran. We were literally looking for Rocky. I'm like, where is Rocky at? Is he at the airport? I'm looking for him. I was looking for Gremlins. I don't know if you remember Gremlins. Yeah. With those little things that water would pour on them and they would pop up. Yeah, the cute little fuzzy thing. They turn into hundreds of them and monsters. Yeah. And then, then you realize, my gosh, we're finally in America. What are we going to do with it now? So at first, it's kind of like, now you're given this gift. You're in America. Now what are you going to do with it? And so that process from going to just being grateful for having escaped Iran and coming here, then the transition of just the fact that you're here, learning how to think bigger and stretch your own vision, that's another challenge you got to face, which also a lot of veterans go through, by the way. Maybe we can talk about that today on this sit down. But that transition itself, in itself, was something that made me obviously who I am today.
You know, the interesting for me is the fact that as we come to this country looking for those opportunities, those options, I believe that that's why we build a lot of the insecurities that haunt us and prevent us from scaling and doing a lot of bigger things. For example, for me, when I came here, I remember that being picked on and not knowing the language great enough, speaking the right way, failing a lot of classes at first. My parents started telling me that, hey, you know what? Because of that, you have to take this path because that's the only way you're going to do good in life. And I think you mentioned in one of your videos that you said, and it's the dropout one, the one that you did like, I think 2015, 2016, where you said a lot of times is what your parents think that is right. And they tell you, well, do this, then go to school, get it this way done, because that's the only way you can achieve in life.
That's what they're thinking. By the way, what words did you guys hear when you came to the States? Like, what were they calling you as a kid? What did they call you?
I had everything, wetback.
Wetback, right? So for me, it was phobe or fob, you know, fresh off the boat. You know, here's a guy that's, and I couldn't pronounce half the words. Like back then, the shows that people would watch was Gilligan's Island. I don't know if you remember Gilligan's Island. I don't know how to pronounce island. I'm like, if it's island, why do you put an S in there? You know, it's Gilligan's Island, not Gilligan's Island. Or government. Why do we put an N in there? Government. Or all Wednesday, Wednesday. You know, all these things were confusing for me to learn. And so you'd go to class and you would read a book and somebody would laugh at the way you pronouncing stuff. But, you know, look, yesterday, I'm with my family. I got the 3 kids. I was babysitting yesterday. My wife had an event to attend. And I got my 6-year-old, my 5-year-old, my 4-year-old, and my 2-year-old daughter. And I go upstairs to shoot a video. And that video never went live. It was supposed to go live today. This morning, I woke up at 5:30. I'm like, I'm not going live with that video. We made an adjustment. We went with a different video today. But here's what the video was. I need like 10 or 15 more minutes to go a little bit deeper. It has to do with what you just said right now, which is, you know, in the dropout video where I talk about parents, what they're conditioning, all these other things. So we have a lot of beliefs that we live by till today. Somebody's watching this, they're listening to this. You are making certain decisions in your life because of a certain set of beliefs. This could be 50 beliefs, right? Mom, dad, somebody passed it down to you. Somebody you love, somebody you admire, somebody you cared about. Could be a coach, a teacher, a professor, somebody, a stepdad, an uncle, right? And some of them are different. Some of them are from our church we would go to. And you hear the saying that sometimes pastors say, man plans, but God laughs, right? And you hear these things. So say somebody says that to you this over and over and again. You sit there and say, wait a minute, if man plans and God laughs, this means you think you can really plan out your life. Why am I even taking the time to plan if God already knows what my life's going to be? And as a 34-year-old, you don't even know it. You're sitting there saying, you know, why put a plan together for my life? It's not like I can really control my life, which on the complete opposite side, a guy named Winston Churchill, who historically he's been an incredible leader on what he did. He once said, history will be kind to me, for I intend to write it, which means this. So I am a man of faith. I believe in God, okay? But also at the same time, I believe I am also a person that could dictate what my life's going to look like, right? So on one end, if I die tomorrow, I'm totally happy in my life. Because if he wants me up there, I'm game, no questions, no nothing. I'm good, we go. But I'm also banking on he needs me for 100 years. So if I'm banking on he needs me here for 100 years, let's just say he's trying to use me for 100 years as one of his soldiers, hypothetically. I'm going to map out exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to map out the first 20 years, the second 20 years, third 20 years, fourth 20 years. That's what I'm going to map out, right? So as you're going through this transition and your parents have fed you all this other stuff, you have to take a moment and write out every single belief that you have, every single belief that you believe about marriage. Your dad would say something about women. Well, you know how women are, write that down. Well, your mom would say, well, you know how men are, all men are dogs, Well, you know how kids are, all kids are, Well, you know how money is all, Well, you know how friends are, you know how rich people are, you know how, you know, everything, white people are, Middle Easterns are, Latinos are, black people are, everything. We have all these conflicting beliefs. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It just means it's been said to us so many times that we finally believe it. And by the way, if you don't take a moment and pause and actually write this down and realize that it is not true. One day I came home and my dad and I were having a conversation, and he was very famous for saying stuff about marriage and women. And he would say it over and over and over again. Well, you know how it is. I mean, you know how it is, and you know how it is, and you know how it is with marriage, you know how it is with women. One day I said, Dad, let me ask you a question. Do you want me to get married and have a divorce like you as well? No. Then you need to stop saying that to me because I want to stop believing it. Sure. I don't even want to believe what you're telling me. So that pause, that conversation, then my dad comes back the next day and he says, you're right. You know, I'm just giving you my emotion. I don't want you to believe it because it could be a possibility of making it work. I said, look, I just want you to know, man, I want to live a life and represent your last name. That's what I want to do. But the moral of the story about everything we're talking about right now is anybody that wants to make a shift, you got to go back and kind of think about what you believe is the truth and realize just because it's your truth, it doesn't necessarily make it a truth. It just means you think it's true. It's not. And then you got to shift it. And that process of shifting it is the only way you recreate the way you think that allows you to get into a life you've never experienced before. 100%. And it's quite painful.
No, and I agree. I think, it's funny. I was talking in a conversation with a veteran not too long ago, and he kept on telling me how he's like, bro, nothing's working for me. I keep on getting tickets. This is not working. I'm not getting a job. And then the next time I meet him, it's, bro, nothing's working for me. And I said, you know what? Have you ever stopped and listened to yourself? It's the same bullshit story you're telling yourself that it's manifesting. That's what you're asking. Yeah. That's what you're getting.
Wouldn't you think it's the same, whether it's your idea on business, relationships, relationships with your parents, marriage, because you have these preconceived notions or these things that you're programmed with to how you feel about them. And wouldn't you say that they're holding you back from getting like the true happiness or your true goals if you're stuck on the ways that you're programmed? So those definitely are holding you back, but how does someone make that shift?
How would you say everything? I'm telling you, question everything. A guy comes up to me and he says, I want to get married, man. I feel like I'm behind. I said, tell me why do you want to get married? I just want to get married, but why do you want to get married? I don't know. I want to get married. It's what everybody does. Who cares if everybody gets married? But why do you want to get married? I don't know. What's the real answer? Do you want to get married because you want to have kids? Do you want to get married because everybody gets married? Do you want to have kids because as you get older, you want somebody to take care of you? Do you want to get married because you want to be with one woman the rest of your life? Why do you want to? So you got to question everything. Question God, question marriage, question money, question conventional thinking. You have to question everything. And unfortunately, when you're raised in middle America, okay, when you're raised on low income to middle America, everything is fed to you like you need government's help. Oh, poor you need this. Oh, poor you need this. So you grow up like, oh, poor me this. Oh, I'm supposed to be a statistic. And then you get to a point where you're like, you know what, screw this thing. I'm questioning everything. One day, my friends, we go to Burbank, there was a party. We go to this party, I'm 21 years old, 21 and a half years old. I can tell you the names of who was with me, a guy named Devine Mestrop, Armin, a few guys were over there, and we see an old girl, good girl. And we're at this party, and then all of a sudden fight breaks out, and we go outside, and I just lost it. Absolutely lost it. I said, don't ever freaking call me again. I don't ever want to go to these parties. Who are these schmucks trying to fight us right now? I don't want to freaking get a felony. I don't want to screw up. I don't even want to live this life. Stop calling me anymore for this stuff. And when are you guys going to change? And we had this moment. What's crazy is the other day I posted a video about a talk I gave when I was 21 years old in 2001. One of the guys commented and he said, I was exactly in that meeting when he gave that talk. We're talking 01, 17 years ago. He was part of that group when that one night I said, I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why we're doing this. And that look on friends' faces that day was like, what is wrong with you? Like, you think you're better than us? Like, you think you're, like, who do you think you are, bro? Your parents got a divorce. Like, you're not anybody to think. I said, I'm not telling you I'm better. I'm just saying I'm going to question every freaking thing, because if life is about becoming a statistic and living a regular life, you may as well kill me today. Yep. What the hell am I living for? Yep. There's no way in the world you and I were put here to just be average and ordinary. We have to question every single thing.
Patrick,
every single thing.
What would you say to military veterans who have been programmed to never question anything? Because you have people, they turn into robots. They break.
What a freaking great question.
They break them down in boot camp, and they say, you listen to everything we say.
So here's the other part, okay? This is what's also strange about me. I'm very coachable, but I question everything, okay? Meaning, I am teachable. You can teach me. I can be led. If you say something to me that makes sense, I'll say, okay, that makes sense. I'll go ahead and listen to you and do it. But also at the same time, you know, I have to sit there for a moment and ask myself, like even my buddy that just got out of the military, this guy was Special Operations, Delta Force. He wasn't like, you know, he told me when he was 18 years old, I'm going straight to Delta Force. Nice. I said, you realize Delta Force, you don't choose to become Delta. Like, you can become Special Forces. You can become Navy SEAL and go through the school. Delta Force, they pick you. You are picked and chosen. But he told me from 18 years old, he's going to go to Delta Force. So he goes Delta Force. 10 years he's missing. I contact every single contact I have with him. I thought he's dead. One day he reappears and we're reconnected. He's coming to spend 10 days with me for Thanksgiving here. When he was getting ready to ETS, he started opening up and he says, Pat, I have fears. What fears do you have? I'm going to go from every day I have formation at 4:30. Every day I go to Chow Hall. Every day I'm being directed what to do. Every day I don't know how to be a civilian. I don't know. And he started really opening up one day, like he had fears, like, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. So I said, tell me how. And then we started getting deeper and deeper and deeper. I said, look, you got to sit there for a moment and realize the following. One, you've given your life to this country. Check. You're a hero, okay? You've done your part. You've done your part where you've lived your life for others. For 20 years you did that. It is now your turn to live for you, your last name. You've lived it for the country at the highest level. It is time for you to live for your last name. So I said, what do you want to do? He says, what do you mean? I said, what kind of a life you want to live? Who do you want to be? Forget about the past. What do you want to do? What do you like? So we started talking. He says, I like wine. What else do you like? I like beer. I like spirits. I like the way it's made. What else do you like? I like working out. What else do you like? I like the idea of health and nutrition. What else do you like? I like traveling. What else do you like? I like this. Why don't we figure out a way how to make money doing that? But I also like business. I also like making money. Why don't we figure out a way to start doing that? And we sat down and came with a plan. When he was getting out, he started having some PTSD. He was going through that. And it was very, some people think it's like a myth. Some people think it's just in movies. Some people think it's just like, yeah, I know we say people, give him some medication and he'll get over it. No, this is a real issue we're facing in America today.
Which is the solution right now. Medication.
Yeah, I am not a fan of that, man. I had a valuetainer yesterday, 2 days ago, come here from India. And I said, what do you do for a living? He says, my goal is to get people off medication. That's what my goal is. And I said, what kind of medication? He says, the whole, medication, thinking you need something to save yourself, to kind of put yourself into sanity. But that is a real issue we're facing. Suicide is a real deal. This is really happening. It's not something that's no longer just a thing that a very small few percentage of people do. And a big part of it is from veterans. So the key is to question everything. The key is to start asking, who do you want to live for yourself and what do you want to live? And start making a list of all those things. All this time I live for somebody else. It's my turn now. And when you start making that list and then figuring out ways to go deeper in it and actually getting excited, and then slowly but surely you start seeing a transition taking place. But it won't be a 30-day thing. It may take 6 to 12 months before that shift is made.
Correct. And it's interesting.
That's freaking awesome, though, because that, we deal with that a lot with a lot of vets that really don't know. They don't have a purpose. They don't know what they're going to do after they get out of the military. So what you just said is awesome. Just take some time to reflect.
And it's crazy how it works.
Yeah.
Jay Glazer, Fox Sports.
Yes, of course.
So we work along with him, and we've been doing a lot of stuff with MVP. They merge basically veterans with pro NFL players because they go to the same hard.
He also does some MMA stuff, right? He did some UFC stuff.
Exactly.
Yes.
Bellator.
Quality guy.
Yeah, great guy. And, we're in these groups, and they bring veterans in, they bring pro NFL players. We all work out together, and then towards the end have like a small powwow. Everybody gets to open up. And it's interesting because you just mentioned right now at Delta Force, we have heard from Navy SEALs, we have heard from MARSOC, Recon. These are guys that have achieved the ultimate possibility that you could do in the military that it takes huge amount of mindset. I mean, the mindset to go through Navy SEAL training, to go through Delta Force, and to come back to the civilian life. And a lot of things they said was that they fear success, that they fear coming short.
Yeah, listen, what you guys are doing today is so important. I'll give you a complete different perspective. The other day, my wife and I had a fight. And we had a very good fight, okay? A legit fight. Like, how there's fights and then there's fights. We had a good fight. We fight all the time. We've been married 9 years. If you're married, so you find it. So I'll tell you one thing. One of our guys that I work with, they do very well with us. They're 3-time MVPs with our company. They make 7 figures. They started talking to me about their relationship. But it was almost like hesitant to want to talk to me about it. And then I said, can I just tell you guys something? I said, yes. My wife and I just got into a terrible fight last night, and we haven't spoken since then. We've had a bad fight. And we just got over it 30 minutes ago before talking to you guys right now. No. Yeah, we just got into a terrible fight. So what happened? Nothing. We fought. So what's your point? Well, here's what takes place. We had another fight last week. After the fight she's laying next to me, we're in bed. I said, babe, did you talk to anybody for you to kind of share your frustrations with? And she said, yes, I did. I said, who were they? And she tells me who it was. That's great. I said, so you did talk to somebody? Yes. Did you feel better? Yeah, of course. Okay, awesome, great. What's the point there? She has to have a release. Okay, it's very important.
That's interesting.
Let me explain something. Are you pointing out something? He's trying to say something.
Break real quick.
Yeah.
I've had a timeout. Let's stop recording.
Okay, don't worry about that. We're here.
Okay.
We'll just roll with audio.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
So I said, who'd you talk to? She says, I talked to a couple. I said, so you're good now? I said, yeah. And she started laughing. I said, why are you laughing? It's because one of the friends that I talked to, she's always upset because she's like, you live such a great life and you have such this, you have such that. She said, you have no clue how happy she was that I said, you and I got into a bad fight. I said, why? Because she was glad to know that even us, we have pretty bad fights together. What's the moral of the story? Here's the moral of the story. Men, we don't talk about our problems.
We don't.
Because we're very insecure. We have self-esteem issues. We have to be men. We can't show vulnerability. We can't show the weaknesses we have and all this other stuff.
Damn, that sounds familiar.
I think the biggest thing with PTSD is you got to talk to somebody. What you guys are doing is so important because sometimes I just need an outlet to sit there and say, here's what I'm dealing with, man, and I'm scared. And somebody said, bro, I've been through it as well. It's okay. So when you're talking about opening up and sharing your issue you're facing, it is so important for you to talk with somebody in your own community that says, I've been through it as well. So many men hold it back until it's way too late.
Exactly. And it's 665,000 veterans alone in LA County alone. I think there's a total of, the last time I checked, 1,200 veteran organizations that supposedly help out veterans. But each one has a different mission. Each one, I feel that it's not accomplishing what it is. And when I spoke in Congress, I spoke in Congress for advocating vets, and I brought there and I said, the problem is that you have all these people that supposedly want to help out vets. What if we all just, and excuse my French here, fucking get together, have the same resolution, get this taken care of, because the problem starts from active duty. It doesn't start when you get out.
Absolutely.
The problem starts from active duty, and it's too late when we get out. And then we tell the vet, hey, you need help? Just go to the VA.
Yep.
There needs to be a better process, definitely.
I think that's one of the bigger processes that I'm trying to do, especially with my own business, is we have a moving company.
Okay.
And transitioning into moving is an easy job to start. You get automatic, sorry about that. You get automatic tips. You can just, it's just an easy process. So when we first...
He's going to hold your hand.
You're going to hold my hand.
Doing good.
So when we first started, it was, just me out of my garage. And I was one of the veterans that had problems transitioning, with PTSD and whatnot. So...
Who'd you open up with? Who did you talk to?
I didn't really talk to anyone, to be honest with you.
Tell me your story. Your story is fucking amazing.
So when I got out, I was homeless for about 6 months. I lived in my car and I kind of bounced around from place to place, friend's house to friend's house, got into drinking a little bit. And I don't know, I just figured out that I didn't want that, for my life. So, I got on my feet and then, I started a moving business. And I think one of the
how did you start the moving business? Because this guy, first of all, we call him take action because he literally takes action. When Hurricane Hurricane Harvey, I'm at a meeting and I'm working on this big deal. We're all working.
Oh, this is the recent one. No, the Florence, Hurricane Florence.
Oh,
Florence. One in North Carolina.
Yeah. And my phone is just going off like crazy. And I'm thinking, okay, it's my wife, something happened or what? And I looked and I have literally like 28 messages. We're in a group message and it's called the Sexy Marines. And it's like 28 messages. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, he's all like, hey guys, so I just booked my flight to Florida, to North Carolina. Hey guys, I just booked a rig. I'm gonna go help people. Hey guys, I just got donations in. Hey guys, the whole rig is full now.
His flights are
60 minutes.
his text messages, they're like 3 paragraphs long. Like he's giving.
there's 0 or 100, right?
Like order,
this
like
guy
he's
is
about
like,
to go on a combat patrol. And the flights are booked. Everything is done.
Hey guys, let me know if you want me to book your flights. Hey guy, I'm in the road already, and I'm like, bro.
within 10 minutes.
But you know what? That's the one thing about this guy. We actually met by. I used to use. I'm all about helping veterans out, and when I found out that there was a veteran moving company, I kept on using them. So I would refer all my clients and letting them use it again.
And that's his veteran company.
Yeah, that's his veteran. And then one day somehow we just merging together. And he goes, dude, I'm a Marine. I'm like, oh, me too. He goes, yeah, and I own a moving company. I go, really? What's it called? Moving detail, right? Or,
attention to detail moving.
I'm like, dude, that's the same company I use all the time. And he's all like, oh, wait, yeah.
What a story.
And it's in LA, so there's a million moving companies.
That's great.
I was just trying to connect with vets.
What
and
a
that's
great
that's kind of how we came out with this. But the point of my story is I had nothing. I didn't have $1 in my bank account, to be honest with you. And when we started, it was just, I just started off with just going there, renting a truck. And then now we have, hopefully the trucks, big warehouse in Camarillo. And
huge warehouse.
Yeah, we're doing about 120, 130 moves a month. And, it's really, I just feel blessed, but you can't stop, and what I want to try to get out to veterans. And I think that's why we do this, is that it's not impossible. You just got to start with the first step. It's like going to the gym every day, right? If you just wake up every day and just get there, you're going to have a successful morning,
Would you helping, with you opening up and talking to somebody during that time, let's say at the lowest,
right?
Would you felt that would it have made a big difference, or was it just because of that ego, that big I
think I was trying
pride?
to find something else, and that's why I can relate to you in a lot of ways is, just you got to try new things. You can't just sit there and be like, oh, boo-hoo, feel sorry for me. And I know a lot of guys have a lot of issues, but you got to get your ass out the door. You got to try something new.
Yeah.
And
I think it goes back to like what you said, Patrick. If you just take a time to sit back, reflect, and think about the things that are that excite you the most, right? That you enjoy doing, because those are the things that you're going to be passionate about, right? Is that, I think, the key to really be.
Let me ask you this: what's the darkest moment you got in? Darkest, were you ever tempted?
I mean, the darkest moment in business?
No, the darkest moment where you just got out, UETS, you're out, you're 6 months, you're homeless. Were you ever at a moment where you're like, my life is not worth it?
Yes.
You were there?
Yes.
Was anybody else here as well, or no?
Yeah, I put a gun in my head.
You put a gun in yourself? Close?
Yeah.
Close? Okay, so check this out. So that's the part, right? Because in business, so a lot of people think about for me as, oh my gosh, Pat, you got, look at the money you've made, look who you are, almost quit valuetainment. So we got 500 subscribers. What the hell are we going to do? After 1 year, we got 500 subscribers. Second year, we got 1,700 subscribers. 2,200 subscribers after 2 years. We're like, you know what? I said I'm going to go 2 years. If the content interests people, I'll continue. If it doesn't, I'm stopping. 2 years into it, I'm stopping. We're not going to do valuetainment. And we stop. Imagine if we don't start, we continue after 2,000 subs, right? Yesterday, we got 2,100 subs. Let alone the first 2 years, we got 2,000 subs. Business, I'm run the business. Financial services. 2 years into it, nothing's going my way. I'm about to go back in the Army. I go meet with the Army recruiting station saying, if I go back in the Army, what are you going to give me? And I start negotiating about going back in the Army, saying, I'm just going to do my 20 and stay in. So my buddies in the Army are waiting for me. I'm this close in giving and, throwing in the towel and going into business. I think it's very important to talk about the breaking point we got as veterans. Very important to talk about the breaking point. When I say breaking point, it's like I am no longer worth living. That's what I mean by breaking point. There's a statistic out there with San Francisco Bay Bridge. It's famous for suicides.
Yeah.
2,000 people have attempted suicide. Out of the 2,000 people that have attempted suicide, 100 have made it. Everybody else has died. 2,000 people have jumped off, 100 have made it. They interviewed the 100 that made it. And they said, tell me what you're thinking. How was it? He said, first of all, from the moment I let go of my hand, I regretted my decision. From the moment I let go of my hand, I regretted my decision. Does that make sense? You're in the moment, and my life is not worth it. Split second, I shouldn't have done it. My life is worth it. That breaking point is what the military veterans need to hear. Of us being at that breaking point. And because think about it, in marriage, what do people need? Husband and wives. You see people that are married for 40 years. You think they've never had any issues. 3 times they almost got a divorce. You think about a guy running a business, and he's $1 billion business now. You think, oh, he's probably had it easy. He's a genius. 4 times he almost threw in the towel when he almost filed a bankruptcy. We need to talk more about that breaking point that we had as vets.
They need to know that it's possible. Someone else has done it.
And I'm talking specifics, like specific. I'm in my house by myself on my second bottle. I'm drinking. My gun is sitting right there. I just broke up with my girl because of a terrible fight she and I had. I don't want to talk to my mom. My dad said I'm a waste of a freaking life. My brother's calling my ass out. I just got into a bar fight. I lost my car. They need to hear the worst scenario. And I need to feel it. And that's happened to so many of my peers.
I just got goosebumps right now.
But I'm telling you guys, the impact you're making right now is what you're doing. And you're doing this. Veterans, you said 650,000.
665,000 in LA County.
665 in LA, 31 million in America. 31 million in America, okay? One of my guys, his name is Matt Sapala, money smart guy. I don't know if you've ever done anything with him. He's a Marine himself. You know who he is?
Yes.
Yeah, so Matt Sapala, Marines, 8 years. And when he got out, he went through the same thing as well. I told him, I said, listen, he says, Pat, what do I do to build my brand. I said, buddy, the stories you have about being in the Marines and how much you love. He's been to the White House 5 times. He goes and speaks about what he thinks with veteran. He's made such a big impact. 31 million people is a big community, and they need to hear the testimonies that they're not alone. When a person's going through ETS, it is very, very emotional, that process. You remember when you go on ETS?
Oh, yeah.
And they try to tell you, go be a cop. Fort Lauderdale County needs cops. You can go do this.
Which is why, if you really want to know why he has tattoos on his hands and his neck, is because he kept getting rejected from the police department, and he wanted to make sure that he didn't apply anymore and put himself through that pain because he kept getting declined. So he tattooed his neck.
Yeah, so I put a big old skull and crossbones on my neck to make sure I wouldn't go back in the Marine Corps, the police force, so that I could pursue business. And that's the reason why I did it.
Have you told that story?
No.
Partially, but
We're working on Cole to get out more.
yeah. So basically, that was the number one reason, and that's where I started. And I said, if this is the only way that I'm forced to make it on my own, then so be it. And literally, that's the reason why. I had a sticker on the back.
It's a tough, it's a tough journey to go through after. And one of the main reasons why we wanted to interview you, Pat, is because the military is very hard in pushing school. And if you get out, go to school and use your post 9/11 GI Bill, and then take advantage of your GI Bill, and if that runs out, then go for voc rehab. And so we are building a way of thinking for our veterans that the option is go spend another 10 years in school after you get out to try to get something. And then after that, you will get a job and you'll live the life that you want. But it doesn't work that way. Why? Because we have obstacles that they're going to deal with the VA. Then we're going to have obstacles that a lot of guys become complacent and they depend on that money. Your post 9/11 gets you $2,300 a month, and then they want to use that as a way of living. And they say
they depend on it like it's a paycheck, like it's a job. But they don't realize that there's a timeline on it and it's going to run out.
Did you guys ever get your degrees?
No, dude. I went
I got
to
my BA.
I'm almost like a semester away from.
and I still tell them that I think it's a waste of time. And I'm with you 100%. I went to school for business, Columbia College in Los Alamitos at the Army base there. And the minute that I knew I was in the wrong fucking place is when I knew more about market segments than the fucking instructor.
I went to 311 Cascom.
And I'm like,
311 Cascom is right off of Wilshire is where I went.
Oh, yeah.
Reserve. No, but again, what you're saying is true. You're spending another 6, 8, 10 years going to school. I have a friend of mine who got out and he called me and says, guess what? I said, what? I'm applying for disability. I said, so what does that mean? They're going to pay me $3,000 for the rest of my life. I said, so what's your point? Dude, that's so freaking cool for the rest of my life. I said, but can you get a job? I can, but they're going to pay me $3,000. I said, so you are officially putting a price tag on yourself for the rest of your life. Dude, you look healthy. Yeah, but I got this issue back. I said, dude, I got back problems. Like, we rucksack and I have the saw as a weapon. You go, 101st, you're always doing ruck marches and all this stuff. I said, I got knee issues. I got back issues. It's not worth $3,000 a month for the rest of my life. Sometimes services like, Social Security, like you think about these benefits that they give you. You think it's serving you. It's not serving you. Even these GI Bill guys are getting $2,300, $1,500, and they're getting another bill from the military. They don't work again. They lose that habit. On the flip side, if you think about veterans, here's the flip side of veterans. Yeah. How many hours straight did you work at one point in the Marines?
Oh, man.
Give me like the hardest working run you ever went when you were
paid on a 24-hour thing.
We did 25 miles march. That was a workup, but it was 30 miles. And
what's straight? What's the longest you worked? Like without sleep? What's the longest you worked?
Iraq, 30 days straight.
In Iraq?
That I could remember, 30 days with an hour intermission sleep every 12 to 16 hours.
Showers.
Like nothing.
No showers. Yeah.
Did you hear what you just said? Like 30 days, like think about what you just said right there, okay? So here's what we're learning. You know how when we're single and we don't have any kids, okay? And we say things like the following, listen, I don't know how your body is, but my body needs at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep. You ever hear people say things like that? Yeah. And then they have a baby. And then the baby's born. And what happens the first 3 months? You're not sleeping. The baby's waking you up. You're getting an hour, 2 hours of sleep. Then you get tested. The one thing about military guys that I will tell you, if there's one thing we learned from being in the military is tolerance. Tolerance for pain, tolerance for sleep, tolerance for lasting. We last longer and we get tested, right? you're going to need that in business. You can't teach that in college. No one's going to teach you that in college. You already learned the hardest thing somebody can teach you in the world of business, which is having the tolerance to last when things get hard.
Okay, to add to that, I feel like a lot of the vets that I meet kind of lost that. When they get out, they seem more weaker than they did. I don't know if it's like the preconceived notions of everyone saying, oh, you have PTSD, or oh, this is what's going on with you. But I just feel like some people, their fuses are a lot shorter than it was in the Marine Corps, for example. Like, I know guys that could take a lot of punishment and a lot, and they can just keep going. Once they get out, they're so exhausted mentally that the littlest things, turn them into something.
But also, let's face it, guys, when you're in the military, we look down to civilians. Come on now. We would say, look at the freaking civilians. These guys are a waste of... I mean, think about it. That's ingrained in us, right? We don't like civilians.
Undisciplined.
We look down at civilians. So when you get out of the military, you see somebody in civilian, it's like, dude, you're a civilian. Don't talk to me like you have no clue what it is. I'm a freaking vet. Don't even think about the whole civilian aspect. We have to make that adjustment to learn how to deal with civilians. That's one big dynamic that we have. The other dynamic that we have is when you get out, you're typically not having everybody give you orders on what to do. You kind of got to take the lead and start really giving orders to yourself. That leadership part is sometimes missing because the leadership side that we have is being told what to do, and then we go and execute on the mission, operation, whatever that we have. We have to learn how to lead ourselves. Sometimes we get good at leading other people in the military, but we don't lead ourselves. When you get out, you got to lead yourself because ain't nobody else going to do it for you. Right. And even our friends and family, think about when you first got out. Do you remember how they treated us? Think about how friends and family treated us, okay? They didn't know how to lead us because they think we're leaders. Like, they think we already know how to take charge. So they didn't know how to give you feedback. Why would they give you feedback? You were in the Marines. You're a tough guy. You were in the Army. You're tough. You teach me how to be. And so they don't know that we also kind of want some feedback from them. We want them to lead us as well. But they also don't know how to give you feedback. Because to them, they're thinking you're like a, superhero legend that you're going to come out and you're going to put the cape on and go out there and change. So it's not just one dynamic or two. It's multiple dimensions military guys, vets are experiencing when they get out of the military.
That's interesting, because how do you think family plays a big part in that? Because I know you mentioned that they look up for you to lead. There's some, for example, with me, when I got out, it was the opposite. It was resentment. It was hate.
From them to you?
Yeah, from them to me.
This is wife or this is mom, dad, siblings?
Mom, siblings, brothers. They felt that I wasn't obedient because I didn't do what they thought was going to be right, because I did not go to school and become an architect because of this. So they had this sort of like, no, don't go to John or JP because he did that bad decision. We don't want nobody doing that. And I think one of the biggest one that really hurt me was from her aunt, which I really liked a lot. And my cousin comes up to me and goes, I'm so proud I want to join the Marines. And my uncle looks at him and he goes, do you want to end up like him?
Yeah. And so, in that moment, I have a different view when I think about that. I think being bullied is a good thing. And I know this sounds very strange when I tell you this. I think being bullied a little bit is a good thing. Because in that moment, you also learn a lot about yourself. Okay, you have to make a big decision in your life. You need 3 different types of people in your life. And I'll explain to you what these 3 different types are. So I'm getting out of the military. I need somebody to talk to that's just going to love me. I can't do anything wrong in their face. So let's just say that's a grandma. So I'm like, oh, mijo, don't worry about it. Oh, son, don't worry about it. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. I just need someone that you can't do anything wrong with. You need to talk to that person. Then the other person I need to talk to is somebody that questions things and says, have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about doing that? They're almost like consultant
kind
approach.
Kind of like a mentor.
Yeah, kind of like a mentor, right? And then you need somebody that kicks your ass. I think you need all those 3. You know how you make good food and there's a recipe and you need the right amount of salt, the right amount of this. Those 3 things are very good when you're about to make a big decision. You want to get married, talk to somebody who loves you. You can't do anything wrong. Talk to somebody that's a great mentor, then ask the right questions, and talk to somebody that's going to be like, stop making excuses. Stop whining. Stop complaining. Man, stop feeling sorry. You're living in America. This incredible life. Do you know where you're living in? We need all those 3. And often we only go to one of those 3 types of people. So our decision is never a 3-dimensional decision. It's only a 1-dimensional decision. That person that talks to you that way, you need a little bit of that as well. We also need the person that's going to be like, hey, man, you're going to be all right. Let me tell you.
It's uncomfortable, but we need that.
We need all 3 of them. And look, I don't think the challenge is that. I think the challenge is when the vets get out, they think they're the only ones going through that problem. I think that's the real big challenge.
Correct.
One time I did a video 4 years ago, and it was a joke. The joke was, in LA Coast 103 Coast 103.5.
That's where he got his voice from.
So tell us,
so funny.
That is
who
so
you calling?
funny you say that.
Yeah,
They
tonight.
gave me this nickname. That's they call me Coast 103.5.
Just hear his voice.
Goes on.
Soothing.
Who are you calling for tonight? I'm calling for Mary. And what song do you want to dedicate?
He's
I'm your puppet.
imitating Roland right now.
All this stuff, right? And so the whole idea was that what if there was a radio station for entrepreneurs to call in and talk about their problems and issues? Well, what you're doing is, what if veterans can call in and tell you what they're going through, and you're processing it together with them? I think veterans need to know they're not alone. And I think what you guys are doing is such an important mission. This is not just a podcast. This is a mission-driven podcast, and it's very important that all four of you can relate to all these veterans out there that are going through these issues that are real, that they need somebody to hear them out and make them realize, listen, good times are around the corner for you.
It is. And we just had Berlos, who's got blown up, IED, missing an eye and all that. And he just won the special challenge that they have for vets that are they have amputees, or it's a big one. They did it in Australia. And he reached out to my Instagram and says, dude, I see what you guys are doing. I want to tell my story. And for me, I was like, dude, hell yeah. Like I would go wherever. I get so excited when it's this veteran. Like I was telling my wife last time, I have closed big deals, big checks and everything, but it's nothing more fulfilling than when you help a veteran out. And for me, that's like this right here. I was so excited for this. You can even ask him. I've been on him all day. Like, guys, we got to be on track. Guys, we got to be this. Guys, the freaking gimbal wasn't working. Our video guy couldn't come. I'm like tweeting him off like da-da-da, because I wanted this to be so perfect, because the message that you're going to put out there is going to change so many lives, man. Like this is, veterans can achieve so much. They have a strength that if they learn how to develop that outside the military, they're unstoppable.
They just need to tap into it.
If they can go through... If you can go 4 years in the Marine Corps, you could fucking do anything.
Well, not just the Marine Corps, any branch. Let me ask you this, Pat.
Any branch of the military.
What failure have you experienced that you felt created a breakthrough or, shifted you in a way that put you in the position you're in today?
I mean, 01. I started a few businesses. They all failed. I was in debt $49K. The girl I was about to get married to breaks up with me. I'm at the lowest point of my life. I mean, I can tell you, I probably cried straight 30 days, man. I was not wanting to be around anybody. And this was 01, I would say October, November of 01, very dark place in my life. I'm like, hey, what's the purpose of living?
So let me ask you this, Patrick. Did you ever hit that moment where you contemplated, where you were right on the verge?
But I was in the Army when that happened. So I was already in the Army. They put me on suicide watch for 30 days.
Wow.
When I was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I went 30 days. They thought I was mute. I've never told this story before. This is the first time I'm telling this story. I was mute for 30 days, okay? My mother was in Iran. I hadn't seen my mother for years, and I just went straight into the Army. And there was nothing in my life to look forward to. Guys, when I tell you nothing in my life I had nothing to look forward to.
Wow.
My dad had a heart attack. My sister was doing what she was doing.
How long were you in the Army at that time?
3 years. No. When I was on suicide watch, I was in the Army for 9 months. I had just arrived to my unit. So we're talking about October. I joined the Army April 15th of 97. September, I get to the unit. And for 30 days in October, I didn't say a single word. For 30 days, not a word came out of my mouth. So I say something's off with this guy. Sergeants would tell me what to do. I wouldn't say anything. I just wasn't speaking. 30 straight days. And I just saw no value in living. Like, who are you to really make an impact in this world? You're a nobody. You're a failure. You're 1.8 GPA in high school. You've never won in your life. I've never been part of a sports team. I'm a big guy. I never played sports in high school, never baseball, never football, never basketball. I worked from 3:30 on at Haagen-Dazs from the age of 14. I lied on my age so I can make some money because my parents had no money. And so I'm in the Army. I'm all by myself. And I'm like, you know what? This would be a great opportunity here. Who's going to know who this guy is? No one's going to know what's going on here. It's not like the world's going to change if anything happened to me or not. And every single time it came to a moment where you're like, it is what it is. Just go ahead and go AWOL and go do something stupid. Every single time. For me, what kept me in is the love of my father. I just locked onto the one person that I love the most and how they would go through it if this is what happened, and the amount of sacrifices my parents made to bring me to America. I just looked at them and I thought about them. I said, you know what? We're not going to do this. And one day, just got up. I made a shift. I said, that's it. I'm going to make a difference in my life. And then things turned around. I said, you got to do the best. At least you're living in America. There used to be time you were in Iran. Aren't you glad you're in America? Everything became about, aren't you at least glad? So I had a routine that I would do. I would say, can you smell? Yes. Can you smell this good food? Yes. Can you see? Yes. Can you touch? Yes. Can you hear? Yes. All of these scents I would do. I said, dude, you're the luckiest man alive. You're the luckiest man alive, bro. And I said that so many, my battle buddies, they would be like, dude, we're so sick. I said, dude, you don't even remember. Guys, we are the luckiest people alive. We're the luckiest people alive. We're the luckiest. And I kept saying that, until I believed it. And I'm like, I'm the luckiest person alive. I'm the luckiest. My wife always say, cops pull you over, you don't get tickets. I'm lucky. The cop pulled me over the other day, 3 days ago. I'm dressed. We're doing a new project. I'm wearing Ben Davis pants, size 48, Cortez shoes, gold chains, Raiders starter, all this stuff. And he pulls me over and he says, dude, you're going fast. I said, I'm not. He says, I'm telling you. I said, cop, officer, you can't give me a ticket. He says, why not? I said, just hear me out. You can't give me a ticket. He says, tell me why I can't give you a ticket. I said, look, in LA, my license got suspended twice. I got 21 speeding tickets. I would always go 100, 150 miles an hour. I said, but I said, why are you telling me this? I said, I'm just telling you the truth. I said, but in Dallas, my record's been clean for 3 years. You cannot give me a ticket because it screws it up. He starts laughing. He said, do you have your insurance card? I said, I don't have my insurance. He says, you realize you don't have your insurance. You have nothing going. You don't want me to give you a ticket? I said, you know you got to let me go today. He starts laughing. He said, man, just get out of here. And I left. Get a ticket. But I'm telling you, I feel like I'm the luckiest man alive. I feel like I'm the luckiest man alive. But that became a mentality because I said it so many times until I finally believed it.
It's the story you kept on telling yourself that manifested that. And I think that a lot of times, and I use this a lot, is I tell veterans, they come up to me for business advice or stuff like this, and they're always like, I can't. And I sit there and I go, dude, this is what you're doing.
Yep.
You want the fucking victim card. And I'm not going to give it to you because if you're going to come to me, I'm going to tell you how it is. And they know it. I'm the one person that will deliver it to you whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, then just don't come ask again. But that's the truth. And I think that a lot of veterans have got that fire up their ass is going to completely change that mentality. And then push them to create better stuff.
So there's the point you're making here kind of makes me, because think about, I am so process driven now of running a business. All I think about is what I would do if I were you guys is I'd go figure out what is the ETS process of Marines, what is the ETS process of Army. I'd collect every single one of them on their steps. So I would actually interview somebody here who works in that process or worked on that process of what happens when I'm 90 days out. Right? You know, the whole 90-day process, 3 to 6 months out. Right. I'm about to get out. Give me the steps, 6 months out, 3 months out. So obviously one of the steps is what? Convincing you and I to re-enlist. Check. We know that one. Because the whole thing is let's get these guys to re-enlist, right? Yeah, I'm not re-enlisting. What's the next steps? Then I go through it. That process, like you said, that process also has a tendency of making some of the ones getting out feel like they're a victim. So the system makes the soldier feel like they're a victim if they get out. So that process needs some help.
Correct.
It's not just, once you get out. It's how is that process lifting you up to get you prepared to get out of the Army or the Marines or Air Force?
Shifting it so they're not becoming a nasty civilian.
I had an office meeting. Today's Monday, Saturday. I had 235 people at the office here. We did a meeting with 57 guys in my conference room. And I sat down and I said, guys, let's unpack every single step from A to Z on what happens with the business. We unpacked it. We found 15 different leaks. 15 different leaks. So if you and I, if you guys, the four of you, found the exact 25-step process on what happens when someone's getting ready to ETS, then there you'll be able to say, what's this needed? We don't need this. This is not needed. Why do we need this? So you eliminate stuff that's not needed. Then you add things that are needed to actually help somebody go through it. And then now you have a better system that gets result. But I think that's a big problem right there, the ETS process. Correct. When guys get out of the military.
And this is why we're saying that it's the organizations, really us, the veterans, that have to come together and formulate this, because the DOD's not going to do it. They look at it as a budget problem. They look at it's going to cost us money. When I spoke in Congress, I brought up a couple ideas on how they can make the transition differently. And what they said is, well, who's going to pay for it? well, we don't have budgets for that. We don't have this and that. And I said, do you know how much more money you would save if we prevented the veterans from going the homeless route, the VA route? You would actually save a lot more money if we make the transition a lot more easier. But you know what? And this is my personal opinion, that I feel that it's just come to the point where they want that to happen because now they control the amount of veterans that they're actually taking care of. Because a veteran, if you tell them, hey, go to the VA, this is the next step, they're going to go once. Maybe twice, but then after they get for an appointment, they wanted to give me 9 months. After a while, they'll just quit. They'll say, why keep on going through that route? So one of the good things that Colt brought a while back was, what if independently organizations came together and put a system in place where the veteran transitions, go through the TAPS program, through the military, goes through this academy or some sort of filtering institute in which we not only educate them on the different options they have, sort of kind of hold them, help them transition rightly. But then we know that in 6 months, you're getting a veteran out that has already had enough options for them given to them, maybe have the reps come directly to them versus helping them out a lot more to make the transition easier and also give them the actual options that are out there if they really want to go to school, if they want to start a business, if they want to, go seek capital to start this and that, but give them more options.
Yeah, so like, honestly, I'm starting to even think about it deeper right now. Is like, I would assume, like, how every company you work with, there's an orientation process you go through.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so what if I'm getting ready to get out and I'm required to sit there and watch these 4 videos, whatever, and I'm supposed to do it with, let's just say, 88 people are ETSing this month from a base, or this week. Those 88 go in a classroom and are required to watch these 2 hours of videos, and then you have to sign it off. And what are those 2 hours of videos? It shows testimonies of a guy got out, went the school route, he became a nurse, or he became a dentist. And another testimony that says a guy got out and he went and became somebody that work like a G, whatever these employees are that are, what do you call them? GS employees, and they're working to support military, but they're civilian contractors. Mm-hmm. He went out and he did this. Then this other story, these guys went and became cops, firefighters, or whatever. Then this other guy went and became an entrepreneur. Then this other guy went and became a movie star. Like, there's so many military guys that are in Hollywood. Then this other guy went and became a graphic designer. This other guy went. So if I'm sitting there and I'm watching 12 different testimonies, I could say, dude, I relate to this guy, to this guy, to this guy. I want to go out there and do this. And a game plan being given by them. So hypothetically, I'm the guy that made it in Hollywood. Let me tell you what I did. This was a dream. I got it. I went straight to LA. I waited tables for 5 years. I started doing some gigs. Then I started doing this. This was my dream. And then all of a sudden, boom. Isn't the one guy that does stuff with the NFL? I don't know what the guy is. He was in the movie Hangover. He was a cop. He says, not up in here. That one scene? What is that guy? He's a former Marine. 20 years, by the way. That guy wasn't a Marine. I don't know what the guy's name is. So imagine if he's telling the story. Imagine if the entrepreneur's telling the story. Imagine if the GS employee's telling the story. I just think, honestly, the exit, the ETS system needs to be broken down. I would interview 4 different people, Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy, and ask them step by step, tell me what happens. I would bring them here, interview them on your podcast, walk me through what happens, and let's try to find a leak and question them.
That's a great freaking idea.
Ask the question and say the following. Hey, Sergeant Jones, can I ask you a question? Yes. I can understand these 16 steps. The ones I have a question for are these 4. Why do we do these 4 steps? You're just trying to find out. What about if we decided to do da. Isn't the most important issues that you see the following? What are the most important issues you see? Let them say, then make your recommendations. I think ETS system needs to be addressed because everything's about operations. Everything's about a flow that you have. That flow is not producing results.
And I just got an amazing idea right now because, me, I go to 100 miles per hour. Valuetainment Military Edition. And I will volunteer to go wherever you send me to interview this successful military, whatever it is, and we plug it in. Have a system in which we plug them in, they get educated, have military, and at the same time...
There's a place for that.
And at the same time, hey, well, look, this guy also has business how-tos and case studies, which, man, I love the case studies. Case studies for me are... Every night I watch case studies, just so you know. I'll sit there, my wife's all like, are you seeing? Are you serious? It's our anniversary. I'm like, yeah, wait. I'm trying to find out how Starbucks made it right now.
Yeah. But again, so going back to it, if you were to take that step, you take that route and you break it down. Because how do you solve an issue? There's a couple ways if you solve an issue. So One is you go and protest. Like, you know how people say, why are you protesting against Wall Street? What do you want to do about it? Hey, Kaepernick, I understand you're upset, but what do you want to do about it? All these protests, that's one, right? This is America. You can protest if you want to, as long as you're not doing it in a crazy way. It's totally fine. Now, you go out there and you protest, but the way you're going about it is you're breaking down every single system. So it has to be pre, during, post. What do we do pre? What do we do the moment you're out, first week? What do we do post 3-6 months later? What is the accountability that happens 3-6 months later? What are we doing there? I think if we dissect those three, you'll get a lot out of it.
A full blueprint on the transition, and I think that's amazing, man.
And realize a lot of these people that are government employees, they are hoping someone like you, the four of you, takes the lead to give feedback. These are guys that are order takers. They just go and they do their job and they leave. They go and they do their job. You remember how S1 was? How were S1 people? Remember, I don't know if Marines is S1. I don't know what they call it, but
administration.
They just kind of like they go and do it. Sometimes they need somebody to come in with innovation and give ideas.
No, interesting. Hands down. That's and we had Nate. Nate Boyer is the one that convinced Kaepernick to kneel because Kaepernick used to sit during the anthem, and he's a good friend of ours. We interviewed us, and he wrote a letter to the Army Times. Army Times. He was a former military, played for the Seahawks after NFL guy, and Army Times blew it up. It went viral. So Kaepernick's representative called him directly and said, Kaepernick wants to meet with you, and he wants to know if you'll come to San Diego. So he's like, yeah. So he Ubered him there, and he sat there, and he's like, dude, Kaepernick shows up. He's wearing all black, got the afro on, and he has this big bodyguard behind him. And I'm like, man, this is probably going to go bad. And he said that Kaepernick asked, dude, I was so touched by it that I don't want to offend the military. In fact, I got family that are veterans. How can I do something different? He goes, well, stand. And he goes, no, I'm not going to stand. And he says, well, when we have a fallen soldier, we kneel. Are you willing to kneel? And he says, I'll kneel. And that's the story on how.
Wow, that's how it got started.
Yeah, and it's crazy because now when you look at it at that perspective, it's different. It's different because you have your hardcore military people out there. It's like, oh no, Kaepernick, this and that. But man, dude, now that you hear the story, you're like, you know what? I do give the guy props because he is being respectful. And then at the end of the day, we fought for that. We fought for people to have their opinion. Isn't that the First Amendment for you?
And if that's the case, he's a terrible communicator because he never communicated that to the audience.
He didn't share that. Yeah, he didn't
communicate. Yeah, if in that moment, the post-game interview, if that was really the case, he could have presented that to the world, and he didn't do that because that perspective is a completely different perspective than what he said on the post.
Correct.
All you got to do is just go watch a post-game interview after the first time he ever did that. Mm-hmm. It was a different story.
Well, that's when he was saying the whole that, he's doing it for the movement and, you know, this and that, which, you relate to that and you're like, yeah, dude, you could have just said, okay, look, I'm not putting out there for the military. It has nothing to do with that. It's not about, this is what I feel, but no, it went directly. So right on that, definitely, man. And, the other thing I wanted to touch on real quick, because I know that you're a busy man and, you got to get to work here. What message do you give military personnel out there that are looking to start a business and, want to go the entrepreneur route? Because I know your perspective on entrepreneurs is a lot different than what we would seem to hear from most places right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can tell you in our company, we have so many veterans. We look for them. We look for them all the time. Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines. We have so many people that are six-figure earners with us, plus that are all former veterans. We look for them. And why do we look for them? One, like I told you earlier, is the work ethic side. The other side, I will say that they're good at following systems once they believe in a system. Once they believe in a system, they're good at doing the system over and over and over again. I mean, you think about sports teams, football teams. The most successful teams that win, San Antonio has a system. You got to follow Popovich's system, right? You go to, Patriots, they have a system. You know exactly what the system is, right? You go to Steelers, they have a system. You go to Golden State, they have a system. The most successful organizations, Apple, Google, every one of these guys have a system. So to get them to realize this word system is not negative. Sometimes we have negative things with the system. When I say system, a system that produces results. Okay, this is why I said we got to go figure out the system of pre, during, post, because it's not producing results.
Correct.
On how soldiers are getting out, right? But a system that produces results, if I can get a vet that believes in the system producing results, the rest is history. But one of the bigger challenges we deal with veterans is how small they think. It doesn't take a lot for a veteran to say, "Oh my gosh, I'll take that." It doesn't.
Yeah.
You give a veteran $3,000-$4,000, but that's awesome, man. Great, awesome. I'll take it. No, man, you got to think bigger than that. You know, you have so many different things that you learn that requires. Like 2 weeks ago, we went to a place in Dallas. It's called drivetanks.com. It's the only place in the world where you are not enlisted and you can drive a tank, a Sherman tank, and blow stuff up. Now, it costs a lot of money. We spent $30,000.
So cool.
Okay?
We got to make our way down.
It's $30,000 you'll spend. But we did, the guy who runs the place is a former 18 Charlie guy, okay, Special Forces guy from the Army. He did 20 years. It's 18,000 acres of land.
Wow.
Okay? They buy tanks, 200,000 plus, and they sell tanks nowadays. If you want to buy tanks, running tanks, you can buy from him for $220 a piece.
Wow.
He sells tanks for a living. Literally, they sell tanks for a living. They make bombs there. They make they make everything there. Literally, they make everything there. If you go to their website, drivetanks.com, it's been all over the news. It's absolutely an insane thing.
Only in Texas.
We collaborated with them. So if you go, you're going to have to spend some money with them, but we're doing a video that's going to come out soon with them. Why am I sharing this story with you? Here's a guy that was in the military. He got out. He says, look, I actually love the military. I actually want to do what I did in the military. And he turned it into a business.
Nice.
And families who have never been in the
love.
military. How many people you know that were never in the military that they tell you, oh, man, I wish I was in the Army, man.
Every
How many
day.
times you hear, I wish I was in the
Every day.
Marines. I always wanted to go. This is a chance for those guys who never went in to get a flavor of it for a day. What did this guy do? Former military. He just got on and says, I'm going to do a business.
And he
I'm
gets
going to
to
buy
blow
some
shit
land
up.
and we're going to blow shit up. That's literally all they do all day long. They blow shit up and some legit stuff. And so, look, you got to think bigger. You got to think bigger. You got to
100%.
not let anybody limit the way you think and decide to see what you really want to do. That's a bigger picture than the small stuff out there.
There you go. Dude, I think that's the second time you heard somebody say that, because I've been convincing them we need a bigger space for our brokerage. And they don't want to pull the trigger. And I'm like, dude, we got to just commit and figure it out later. Go hard right now, all the way. And then
Maybe he wants to go work for Coast
No, I'm down.
103.5.
No. He's. You can't. The thing with JP is you got to watch out what he says and then research it to make sure it's true. Like he is so full.
He is slick.
Are you the storyteller? Is
He's
that what it is?
story.
am I lying about the space in
Totally
downtown?
exaggerator. No, but here's the thing: it needs to be done the right way. It needs to be smart. You need to think it out, and it needs to go towards the total vision for sure.
Absolutely.
But no, it definitely think big, and I think that it's just great for everyone that's listening to think big, and just like you combine that with what you mentioned earlier, take a step back, think about the things that you truly are excited about, the things that you are passionate about, and then you think big and make a plan.
I got a question for you guys. Go ahead.
yes,
I got a question for you guys at the end.
I was going to say, as a vet, before I got my broker's license, before I left a really, really big real estate firm, and they said, "What are you thinking? You're stupid. What would you do that?"
Every day.
And I remember I would leave my office, and I'd already tell myself I wasn't going to do it, and branch off and create this amazing veteran real estate company. And someone actually sent me your video that you did. That I remember. It was you driving in the Ferrari,
Yeah.
and then just that video alone, which we're gonna make sure we post it up on Veterans Battalion.
The life of an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
If that doesn't go in there and grab your huevos and squeeze them, I don't know what does.
I got an idea for you guys. I got an idea and I got questions and I got ideas, and then we can wrap up.
Yes, sir.
So first, I'll give you guys an idea. Here's what I see. I see a video just like the life of an entrepreneur being made, except the video is specifically for the veteran. These are the few scenes I would add to that short clip. One is what veterans do professionally is drink, okay? He's by himself, he's drinking, okay? Highlighting a scene with a falling out with his parents, okay? Highlighting out when the veteran gets out of the military, doesn't know what to do, like confused, going to job interviews, has no clue what to do, and all the things that veterans do, which is what? Go apply to be a cop, go apply to be a UPS postal, that's another option they give us, or be a firefighter, and then from there, drinking with a gun right there.
Oh, man,
and
that's
that
good.
video needs to be made, and it needs to be 2 minutes. Needs to be 2 minutes with what happens post. But that breaking point video, if you make it, you got 31 million people that are going to relate. And it could say the truth about PTSD. That's the video. Truth about PTSD. That video could be a 20 million view video. because you do it right. You guys produce everything properly, right? And by the way, you know what you can say at the end? Veteran Battalion. Okay, it could promote what you guys are doing right now. Anyways, this is my other question for you guys. That's something you guys really ought to consider doing. And it can be you guys acting it because, you know, it's
we'll
not
take action for sure.
No, that's not going to be hard to do. Okay, that's a very simple video. You need a $5,000 budget to do it right. Get some real camera guys, write out the script properly and put it together. High quality video, high quality stuff, and you go produce it together. Question for you guys. Long-term vision. What are you guys trying to do with this?
Long-term vision is to change as many's life as possible. It's really what we want to do. Veterans-wise, you know, help them, you know, change the way that society looks at them. But not only that, but help them, you know, realize that the potential is a lot greater.
Give them ideas. Entrepreneurship helped me cope with PTSD and post-traumatic stress disorder. So I found serenity through entrepreneurship, because that's what I was valued at. I didn't want to value myself based on the dollar or how much I'm worth. I mean, I'm worth unlimited. And I think that every veteran needs to know that.
Just providing them with success after the military, fixing a lot of the things that are broken that we talked about today, but taking action in creating a system and really just a movement to provide veterans with success after the military.
Touching as many lives as possible.
Let me ask you, are there specific, so how long you guys been doing this? How long has this been going on?
We've been going now, we're at...
technically, we've been going about 7 months.
How many total episodes?
15 episodes right now, 175 subscribers.
Okay, so this is my suggestion to you guys on what to do. I would sit down, and I would write out a manual, 10 pages, for those who are about to ETS and those who ETS, okay? And I would write down specific, what you're thinking, what you're worried about, top 10 worries, top 10 concerns, top 10 resources, and I'd create a website specific to that with specific direction. I would create another platform for questions that are very private and sacred, where somebody can call and speak to them, where I can send a message in and they can hear from somebody. Okay, if you're really at a breaking point, whatever, send a message here, you'll respond to them. But I would create a platform that's not just, so for instance, like valuetainment. You know, I sit there and I think about, why is valuetainment being successful? I don't know. The first 2 years we winged it. We were just kind of posting whatever videos. And I finally said, nope, we're going specific entrepreneur with specific tips on what to do if you're in this specific situation versus general. I think the opportunity in what you guys are doing is so big, but I think if you guys go very specific on how to fix things with specific direction, you're going to get people to say, dude, let me tell you what I did, man. I had these guys that were former Marine guys, and I went on their website. I listened to them regularly. You got to start listening. So your recording becomes, hey, you're maybe active duty right now. Get your peers to also listen to this. Get them to download the 17 steps to XYZ, and then they start looking at it. Then this becomes a community. Then now you're impacting. Then now there's a system for it. I would go a little bit deeper, because I believe the vision of what you guys can really do is bigger than what you guys think it is. But I think you got to go specific and have some manuals, have some specific steps for people, veterans that are at different stages of being a veteran.
That's what we could plug in Veterans Hub, because that platform is set up. And what I was going to do with that one is do informational videos, just like kind of you guys do with case studies, but break down different steps for vets and for them to utilize it and do the whole blackboard and break it down, everything. And that's something that we've been on the process. What happened with that initially is when it took off, we got so much action, leads that came in, that we just didn't have the manpower to handle it. And I mean, it's a good problem to have. I had people say, no, you should have kept on going and then figure it out. I think that's the error we did, that we just stopped it. But it's something that we want to fully launch again and then merge it together.
It's actually very simple. It's a WordPress website with a few things you put in there that's accessible to me. But those things become shareable and become impact immediately.
Yeah,
definitely.
No, I like that.
Like, here's one thing. Top 20 questions to ask before you ETS. Put it on your website.
Nice.
So you said, really, like right, hey, you're an E4, you're an E5, you're an E6, you're about to ETS, you don't know what to do. There's 20 questions you have to ask yourself before you leave the military. I'm not going to tell you what those 20 questions are, but go to that website and download it and read it for yourself and answer those questions.
I like that.
These are tools that I need, that you can really make an impact.
Man, Patrick.
You guys have so much value.
It's amazing.
I don't think you realize how much of an impact you can truly. This is 31 million people in America. Yeah. You can really impact some people's lives. They just need direction. And they follow directions. They're used to following directions. You just got to direct them. They want to be led.
Well,
We wanna be
Patrick,
led.
you know what? I will tell you this, and I'm a person that well, I think all of us here for sure, I know for a fact we're a reward. A year from now, we're going to make a promise to you that we're going to build this so big that we're going to fly you out to our studio. All right. And then you're going to hear the success that we have created and bring all these vets that have been touched by it. And a lot of it has to do with what you should share with us here today. And just want you to know that we're very grateful and thankful for that. And to have a veteran like yourself that has accomplished so much and come here and just educate us as well on how we could better serve this cause even greater. It's a great honor, man. I really appreciate you.
I look forward to you guys hosting an event with a few thousand people there, where we start launching this, and this becomes one of the biggest movement for veterans around America. I look forward to that.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
You were literally just.
I've been having this dream of having a full event, and it's going to be called TACCon, Tactical Con, for veterans, and it's going to be differently than what you get on your normal seminars. What I wanted to do is workshops broken down for whatever the vet needs. So, for example, if they want to be in the financial industry, have specific workshops where it's going to literally train them for it. And I got 511 on board on this already. I got a couple of nonprofit organizations that are all on board. So the first day would be a full, just straight expo with all military-owned businesses and have the same military-owned business.
Such a big upside, man. There's such a big upside. There's not only a big upside in there, but this is the kind of stuff where the White House gets involved. And this is the kind of stuff where from the top they get involved in. This is the kind of stuff where you get Mark Cuban invested into, what is that? Is it called Clever? I don't know what it's called. There's a San Diego event that just happened last month, 3 weeks ago. And Mark Cuban funded it. He gave him $250,000 last year to get that part going. And it was Jocko was there. David Hasselhoff was there. A bunch of these guys were there.
David Goggins was there too.
He could have been. Yeah, he could have been there as well. But there's a big opportunity for it. And people are receptive and helping today more than ever before.
I love it.
I love it, man.
Patrick, man, I know we got to cut it short, but again, great pleasure, great honor. Simplified, definitely from all of us. We appreciate you. And for everybody hearing, definitely go check out Valuetainment. A tremendous amount of value, case studies, but overall, you get a veteran that's just helping you create success.
Well, man, thanks for having me, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for listening and serving. Please take the time to leave a review on iTunes to get this podcast heard. Veterans Battalion.